7 figures float serenely in the space between the planes. The rogue with the ponytail takes a long, steadying breath before looking at the rest of you waiting nearby. She closes her eyes and begins moving her arms and her hands in careful motions. Nothing happens at first, and she stops, looking once again at the rest of you. Her look turns into a glare as she turns her back to you and tries again. This time, trails of light begin to follow her hands, coalescing into streamers of blue and green. They form into momentary images of grass and sky a dozen feet across, but they never fully solidify. Your hopes rise as it becomes clear that you're on the right track, but then fall again. As one tiny idyllic scene disappears to be replaced by a different image of a hill, the thief calls out in a tight voice.
Are you gonna help? Or what?
You innately understand how to help, and it seems that between you you have everything you need. Swizzle as steady and as solid as the earth, Balthazar's airy music and wind-like speed, Ufaga's affinity for water, and Disaronno's fiery nature. And layered on top, Valanthe and Lunan provide the essence of light and dark of a sun elf and a drow respectively. Each of you add your will to the growing protoplane. With 7 master spellcasters, huge landscapes erupt from the darkness. An entire mountain range springs up, with rivers and forests, and wind and clouds. Fertile plains grow out from the foothills, leading all the way to a bright coast with pristine sand and turquoise water. Hundreds of miles of land and sky stretch out, somehow visible at every level of detail as you put together the building blocks of the new material plane. But try as you might, as beautiful as this new realm is, it seems to fall apart as quickly as you can make it. The mountain range erodes to nothing before your eyes. The water spills out over non-existent borders, evaporating into the void. You double your efforts, trying to stabilize your creation even as you make it. The rogue's brow becomes coated in sweat as she tries to hold godlike energy in her body. Pain blooms behind the eyes as your mind becomes overworked. And then from the purple veil in the distance, a brilliant point of light appears. 2 thin strands of energy trail behind it, and then massive orbs, one green and one black, slowly emerge as well. Soren has returned, lost planes in tow. He seems to spot your work immediately as he brings the besieged realms to you, providing the stability and framework you were missing. Reacting to the energy of creation, the Shadowfell and Feywild merge with each other and seem to wait for more. With this new support structure, the material plane bursts into being. What you create remains, unfurling like a blanket into the waiting cradles of life and death. Landscapes, both mundane and fantastic, materialize at your whim. The energy of the Feywild creates natural variation, while the Shadowfell keeps that energy contained. The power you feel is intoxicating, greater than anything you've ever experienced. Truly, more than any mortal has experienced. Finally, the terrible cost of creation becomes apparent. You're suffused with energy and power, and the new plane begins to take you with it. The euphoric conclusion is clear as the final boundaries of the new material plane begin to solidify. You've created a home for all of the races of the cosmology, and your imprint will remain forever, but your participation in its story is coming to an end. It's impossible to feel regret as your soul is consumed as the final cost of Genesis. Standing alone on a rocky bluff, overlooking a sandy beach, the rogue surveys the new landscape. The sun just begins to rise from below the sea, illuminating the clouds in shades of orange and pink. She bears a contented smile, broken only by the deep breaths of salty sea air. She gingerly picks her way down the rocky slope towards the water, and when she reaches the sand, Soren plane steps next to her. This is good work. Who are those others?
Doesn't matter.
I'm Soren, Planeswalker, Wizard.
Soren. I've heard that name before. No surprise you'd show up now. What, you just drag whole planes around by yourself for fun now?
For fun? The material plane could never have survived without them. I had to go.
Nice to meet you. We could really put some of that power to use, you know? I'm Fenria.
Well, Fenria, I've never heard of a planeswalker who wasn't born one. I'm intrigued.
Yeah? I have some questions for you, too.
Of course. Let's see, the Lady of Pain is dead. Our realm can't infiltrate for at least a few centuries.
What's that you're going on about?
It seems we have some time. Why don't you start?
It seems we do. You want to know my story, huh? Okay. When I was 11, I met a planeswalker called Cariel. She was out in the Feywild. From that moment,